insights, and authentic information.
It's 5 p.m. across India. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Global. The entire team of Doordarshan wishes you a very happy and prosperous 2024. I am Tanvi Taneja. We'll bring you all the day's big stories from across India and the world. With me today from London is my colleague, Julia Chapman. A very happy new year to you too, Julia.
Happy New Year, Tanvi. It's 11:30 a.m. in London and 12:30 p.m. across Central Europe. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, Russia and Ukraine step up attacks. Election results are confirmed in the Democratic Republic of Congo and a surprise abdication in Europe. But first, the headlines.
A powerful 7.6 magnitude earthquake strikes central Japan, triggering a tsunami warning and advisories for residents to evacuate. Russia too declares tsunami warnings for its far eastern regions.
I humbly ask that all citizens be cautious of the risk of further earthquakes up to Shindo 7.
Israel decides to withdraw some troops from Gaza to shift to more targeted operations as the country prepares for a prolonged conflict against Hamas. Taiwan president says ties with China must be decided by the will of the people and peace must be based on dignity. And India launches a satellite for research on X-ray emissions from celestial objects, including black holes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says a great start to 2024 thanks to ISRO scientists. First news from East Asia. A powerful earthquake with a magnitude of 7.6 hit north-central Japan on Monday. The tsunami warning is issued issued to people to evacuate. The Japanese weather agency issued tsunami warnings for the coastal jurisdictions of Ishikawa, Niigata and Toyama. Russia, South Korea and North Korea have also issued tsunami warning to its citizens. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said authorities are still assessing the extent of the damage and residents need to prepare for any more tremors.
Beginning with the Shika nuclear power plant, there are currently no reported irregularities with nuclear power plants. I humbly ask that all citizens be cautious of the risk of further earthquakes up to Shindo 7 and request that everyone living in the area where powerful tremors took place pay close attention to the local authorities' evacuation orders as well as information on the television, radio and online.
Meanwhile, Japan's Nuclear Regulation Authority said that no irregularities have been confirmed at the nuclear power plants along the Sea of Japan, including 5 active reactors at the Kansai Electric Power's Ohi and Takahama plants in Fukui Prefecture. More than 36,000 houses are experiencing power outages following the earthquake. Flights and rail services were also disrupted. DD India's Chris Gilbert joins us from Tokyo now. Chris, what has been the extent of damages so far?
Well, that is still being collected, that information. There have been reports of a number of houses in the area collapsing. At least 6 people have been reported trapped inside. Unofficially on social media, people have reported themselves as being rescued or freed by neighbors or other people in the community. But just how many have collapsed is still being investigated at the moment. There's also a very large fire that has broken out in the town of Wajima on the Noto Peninsula. It's a town of about 28,000 people. And due to the cold, dry conditions, that fire seems to be spreading very quickly and becoming quite large indeed. The fire services in the area say they're having trouble getting there due to the conditions of the roads at the moment. And of course, there's the other peril, which is the tsunami threat. These waves have begun arriving in Japan over the last couple of hours. They're about 50 centimeters to just over a meter in height. It's a far cry from the scale of tsunamis we've previously seen in Japan, but enough to still cause danger to people's lives, and authorities are urging vigilance. But at the moment, it is the initial response stages to this disaster, and authorities are collecting information and urging vigilance.
Okay, apart from evacuating people, Chris, what are the other safety measures that have been taken by Japan after the tsunami warning and in expectation of more earthquakes?
Well, the evacuation is really the major one. It's just getting people out of the danger area. A task force has been set up. There's been an emergency meeting by the government, and reportedly the Self-Defense Force has been dispatched. Now, the Ishikawa prefecture, the governor of the prefecture had requested the Self-Defense Force assistance. It looks like that is coming. We are heading into the middle of the night here in Japan. The evacuation centers have reportedly begun filling up, as have the hospitals, with people coming in with injuries of various seriousness. But of course, that information about the scale of injuries is still to come as well. Those hospitals are reportedly on social media somewhat inundated with patients. Some of them are without power due to 33,000 customers on the grid being without power after the disaster. They are on backup generators. This is why it is so essential for the self-defense forces to come and assist, and it seems like that's what we're going to be seeing throughout the night here in Japan and into Tuesday.
Okay, Chris, you stay safe. Thank you very much for these updates. Now, after this powerful 7.5 magnitude earthquake that hit central Japan early morning today, followed by tsunami warnings, the Indian Embassy in Japan set up an emergency control room and has issued emergency numbers and email IDs to seek assistance. These numbers are being flashed on your screen now. The Indian officials are in regular contact with the authorities and have requested people to follow all these instructions issued by the local government. So these are the helpline numbers issued by the Indian Embassy in Japan for assistance. Now, the first tsunami that reached South Korea's east coast was at a height of 1.5 feet. South Korean Weather Department said that the tsunami can grow after the initial waves and may continue for more than 24 hours. Residents are also warned to take precautions and evacuate to higher ground. North Korea issued tsunami warnings for its east coast after this massive quake in Japan. And some more news from the region. After China's leader Xi Jinping vowed reunification with Taiwan in his year-end address, Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen said on Monday that the island country's relations with China must be decided by the will of the people and peace must be based on dignity. Asked about Xi's speech at a New Year's press conference, Tsai said the most important principle on what course to follow on relations with China was democracy. China has been ramping up military pressure to assert its sovereignty claims over democratically governed Taiwan, which on January 13 holds presidential and parliamentary elections.
What is the future of cross-strait relations? I think it should be consistent with the principles of democracy. This is taking the joint will of Taiwan's people to make a decision. After all, we are a democratic country. On what course to follow on relations with China have to follow the democratic process.
On to West Asia now. As Israel enters the new year set for a prolonged conflict with Hamas, the country has decided to pull out some forces from Gaza as part of its smart management of the conflict. My colleague Julia Chapman is in London. She gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Julia, what else is Israel deciding?
Israel is withdrawing some forces from Gaza to shift to more targeted operations against Hamas. Israel's military says the withdrawal is focused on reservists and is aimed at re-energizing the Israeli economy. Israeli military spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said that some reservist soldiers will be sent back to their jobs in order to help the economy as the country prepares for a prolonged conflict.
These days, we are also adjusting the plan for deployment of forces in Gaza and the engagement of reservists. Some of the reservist soldiers will return to their families and their jobs this week. This will allow a significant relief for the economy and will allow them to gather strength ahead of the coming activities in the new year. And since the fighting will continue, we will need them. These adjustments are meant to ensure planning and preparation for the rest of 2024. The IDF must plan ahead with the understanding that we will be required to undertake more missions and the fighting is likely to continue throughout this entire year.
The Israeli army is getting a helping paw from the Oketz unit of combat dogs. They're helping to scan locations for threats, map houses, locate weapons and explosives, and neutralize Hamas fighters. A video of a dog named Patrick was released by the Israeli army. The Oketz dogs belong to the Army's canine unit, and each dog is trained to specialize in one area, such as attacking, detecting explosives, or search and rescue. Ukraine and Russia accused each other of carrying out attacks on New Year's Day as aerial bombardments intensify. In the Russian-controlled city of Donetsk, officials said 4 people were killed and 14 others were injured in Ukrainian shelling. Ukraine said that at least 1 person was killed in a Russian air attack on the port city of Odessa, where homes were damaged by drones shot down by the country's air force. Officials say Russia's air attack also targeted the Mykolaiv and Dnipro regions. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said his country had become stronger in overcoming serious difficulties as the war with Russia moves towards its second year.
Everyone has something to smile about because it worked out, and everyone has something to cry over because of losses. Each of us fought, worked, waited, helped, lived, and hoped this year in our own way. Everyone. But everyone will find something common to all Ukrainians this year. The major result of the year, its main achievement. Ukraine has become stronger. Ukrainians grew stronger.
Meanwhile, Russia's President Vladimir Putin barely mentioned Ukraine in his New Year address on Sunday. He called Russian soldiers heroes, but focused his speech on the themes of unity and shared determination.
Уважаемые граждане России.
On today, I would like to address our military personnel, everyone who is at the combat post, at the forefront of the fight for truth and justice. You are our heroes. Our hearts are with you. We are proud of you and admire your courage. I know that now you feel the love of your closest, dearest relatives, the powerful, sincere support of millions of Russian citizens, the support of the entire nation.
Тверды отстаивая.
Russians missed out on their usual New Year fireworks on Red Square and in many cities across the country, as local authorities decided to save money and send it to the front lines in Ukraine. Some said the step was taken in solidarity with those who were killed in an attack on Saturday in Russia's Belgorod region, where at least 22 people died, including children. Dasha Chernysova reports from Moscow.
New Year celebrations in Russian cities have been scaled back, with fireworks cancelled and decorations not as lavish as they used to be. All the money saved from that will go to the needs of Russia's so-called special military operation in Ukraine. President Vladimir Putin, in his New Year address to the Russians, said that Moscow will have to go forward and create the future. The 4-minute-long video was first released in Kamchatka, that is first among Russia's regions to celebrate New Year. Putin's address was traditionally recorded in front of the Kremlin walls. The head of the country addressed Russians, the military and families of those fighting in the special military operation in Ukraine. Celebrations have been marred with a tragedy in Belgorod, where at least 24 people have died as a result of a Ukrainian strike against city center. Moscow said the West is complicit in what it described as an act of terrorism. Dasha Chernysova in Moscow, reporting for DD India.
The Democratic Republic of the Congo's president, Felix Tshisekedi, has been re-elected for a second term following elections on the 20th of December. The official declaration of the result follows days of objections from the opposition about the way the vote was carried out. Election officials say Tshisekedi obtained more than 13 million out of over 18 million valid votes. Cheers erupted from Tshisekedi's supporters attending the declaration after it was announced that he was provisionally re-elected. Speaking to hundreds of people who gathered at his campaign headquarters after the announcement, Tshisekedi thanked his supporters and promised that his second term would see an acceleration of efforts to tackle inequality. Denmark's Queen Margaret II announced her abdication in a live television announcement on New Year's Eve. Europe's longest-serving monarch will hand power to her eldest son, Crown Prince Frederik, on January 14th. The 83-year-old Queen came to the throne in 1972 and has served 52 years. She became the longest-serving monarch in Europe following the death of Britain's Queen Elizabeth II in September 2022. Last year, Margaret became Denmark's longest-reigning monarch. Well, the ascension to the throne of Crown Prince Frederik means his wife, Crown Princess Mary, will become Queen of Denmark. The Australian princess hails from the state of Tasmania, where locals express their excitement about her new role.
Oh, I think it's wonderful, and puts Tasmania on the world stage, and what a great ambassador for Australia.
I'm very proud. I'm very excited. I think it's wonderful. Yeah. I think she'll make a great queen, don't you?
Yes, definitely. Yes. Proud of her. Yeah, terrific, it's lovely.
Terrific news.
She deserves it. She's lovely.
She carries herself extremely well.
3 migrants have been found dead after a helicopter rescue by the Spanish Coast Guard near the Canary Islands on Sunday. 15 survivors were taken to the La Restinga port on El Hierro Island, in addition to another group of 99 migrants. The island is now home to 14,000 migrants, with a local population of just 11,000. A record 40,000 migrants have reached the archipelago this year on small boats traveling from West Africa. The 7 islands have become a major destination for migrants from Senegal and other African countries as they try to reach Spain, fleeing conflict or seeking a better life. Giant waves and choppy waters in the western U.S. state of California over the weekend prompted evacuation orders amid fears of flooding. In Manhattan Beach, the pier remained closed as waves as high as 20 feet slammed into the shoreline. Residents in coastal communities were warned to stay off beaches and coastal roadways. The National Weather Service in Los Angeles forecast significant flooding in low-lying coastal areas, with powerful waves and strong rip current posing a risk of drowning and damage to structures. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz visited parts of northern Germany on Sunday that were hit by floods after days of heavy rains. Scholz began his visit with a helicopter flight over the flooded area, accompanied by Lower Saxony's Minister Premier visiting. Visiting Verden on the Aller River, Scholz praised the efforts of the emergency services and local authorities, as well as the solidarity of citizens. Several days of rain and snowmelt left several regions underwater. More rain is expected in the days to come. That's it from me here in London. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Julia. Julia Chapman joining us from London. You're watching DD India Global, still to come on the show. Heavy rains lashed parts of east of Australia on Monday, triggering flash floods, bringing more pain to storm-hit residents. Gujarat welcomes 2024 with a remarkable feat, setting a Guinness World Record for the most number of people performing Surya Namaskar or Sun Salutation simultaneously at 108 venues. We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Global. I am Tanvi Taneja. India's space agency ISRO successfully launched an X-ray polarimeter satellite called XPoSat from the launch pad at Sriharikota in the southern Indian state of Andhra Pradesh today. This launch marks India's first satellite launch of 2024, and it comes after the Chandrayaan-3, India's moon mission, and Aditya L1 missions by ISRO. The XPoSat is India's first dedicated polarimetry mission to study the dynamics of bright astronomical X-ray sources in extreme conditions. It's the world's second such mission after the US space agency NASA's launch of an imaging X-ray polarimetry explorer in December 2021.
The orbit that has been accomplished, which is available through various routes, it shows excellent orbit, and the deviations from the targeted orbit is hardly just 3 kilometers in circular orbit of 650 kilometer, and inclination is 001 degree, which is one of the very excellent orbital condition. And yet another announcement is the solar panel of the satellite also has been deployed successfully.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed happiness over the successful launch of XPoSat satellite by Indian Space Research Organisation. In a social media post, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, and I quote him, "A great start to 2024 thanks to our scientists. This launch is wonderful news for the space sector and will enhance India's prowess in this field. Best wishes to our scientists at the Indian Space Research Organisation and the entire space fraternity in taking India to unprecedented heights." So after the successful launch of PSLV, DD India's Ritesh Ranjan had a word with ISRO chief S. Somnath.
Beginning of the new year 2024, there is a big launch happened in ISRO. So what and you were saying that this launch is to study this black hole. For a layman, how can we understand that? How we are going to study this black hole and X-rays polarization?
See, layman also nowadays knows black hole. Huh? So
what is inside that?
I also don't know.
Mystery.
See, the problem is that even scientists also don't know black hole. We know theoretically there is something called black hole. Every star ultimately will die and become either a pulsar or a neutron star or a black hole. So we know today. And great scientist called Subramanian Chandrasekhar has theoretically found out all of this many years back. After that, there has been a lot of experiments to understand and measure black holes. There has been further theories. Black holes will not remain always eating and big. It will also die one day. There is another theory, which again came from various other findings, recent findings. So there is a lot of interest on black holes. It speaks about the universe and its creation, its evolution, change, etc. So we need to study about black holes. So this is an Indian contribution to study black holes.
So in year 2024, you said there are a lot of more launch, 12 to 14 launches going to take place. And among that, what is another one is joint with ISRO and NASA.
NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar satellite that is getting ready. That will be launched this year.
And what all more important satellite launches there?
There are many more, and the most important focus is on completing Gaganyaan development programs. So for that, a lot of unmanned missions are. At least 2 unmanned missions we have to target this year, and also test missions for demonstrating the crew abort and crew escape system.
And what about manned missions, sir? When are you planning for that?
If you are able to complete all of them successfully, manned mission will take place in 2025.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday praised the western state of Gujarat after the state set a Guinness World Record for the most people performing the sun salutation, Surya Namaskar, simultaneously. In a social media post, the Prime Minister said, Gujarat welcomed 2024 with a remarkable feat, setting a Guinness World Record for the most people performing Surya Namaskar simultaneously at 108 venues. As we all know, the number 108 holds a special significance in Indian culture. The venues also included the iconic Modhera Sun Temple, where several people joined. This is indeed a true testament to our commitment to yoga and our cultural heritage, wrote the Prime Minister. Noting its immense benefits, Prime Minister Modi urged citizens to make Surya Namaskar a part of their daily routine. Now, India and Pakistan today exchanged through diplomatic channels simultaneously at New Delhi and Islamabad the list of nuclear installations and facilities covered under the agreement on the prohibition of attack against nuclear installations and facilities between India and Pakistan. The agreement, which was signed on 31st of December 1988 and entered into force on 27th January 1991, provides inter alia that India and Pakistan inform each other of the nuclear installations and facilities to be covered under the agreement on the 1st of January every calendar year. This is the 33rd consecutive exchange of such lists between the two countries, the first one having taken place on January the 1st in 1992. And now we take a look at what else is happening across the world. Heavy rains lashed parts of east of Australia on Monday, triggering flash flooding, inundating roads and worsening the situation of some residents reeling after the intense thunderstorms that hit the region over the Christmas holidays. The Australian regions were pounded by a wild weather system overnight, and more heavy rain is forecast until Tuesday morning. John Pilger, veteran investigative journalist and documentary filmmaker, passed away at the age of 84. Born in Bondi, New South Wales in 1939, Pilger relocated to London in England in the 1960s. He covered conflicts in Vietnam, Cambodia, Bangladesh and Biafra and was named Journalist of the Year in 1967 and 1979. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina on Monday inaugurated free textbooks distribution among students up to the secondary level for the academic year 2024. Hasina handed over these books to students of pre-primary, primary and secondary levels in her office. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un attended a late-night celebration to mark the New Year in Pyongyang, accompanied by his wife, Ri Sol-ju, and daughter. The show featured ice skaters, acrobats, choirs, and fireworks lit up the sky at midnight. And now, as we all have entered 2024, let's now take a look at the New Year celebrations around the world.
Bonne année 2024. Et voilà le feu d'artifice, je vous le souhaite.
Happy New Year! Happy New Year! 新年快乐！我们的时代标志，骄傲的标志。
So that's how the iconic city is brought in the new year. We all wish you once again a very happy and prosperous 2024. May you all get the courage for whatever life has to offer. That's it in this edition of DD India Global. We will be back at 7:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time for another edition of the show. I am Tanvi Taneja from my entire team here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.